Hi everyone, Michael Anfield here, and thank you for joining me. So this is going to be a lengthy video, and by no means is this going to be exhaustive because I might forget a few things here or there, but I'm going to be talking about the negative implications of pet ownership and sanctuaries. Now, just to let you know, two things before I start. If you want to learn more about this in detail, please do get my book, Return to the Gentle Sea for the Love That Lives in Everyone. Now, it talks all about the pet and sanctuary situation and why it's, for most part, why it's wrong to own animals, why it's wrong to have pets and adopt and rescue. But by no means am I totally against sanctuaries and pets, having pets. That being said, you can download or you can listen to my book for free. It's an audiobook, Return to the Gentle Sea for the Love That Lives in Everyone. It's available as an audiobook on YouTube for free. So if you really want to listen to it, and don't just read or listen to the part about pets and sanctuaries, you have to listen to the whole thing in order to understand what I'm trying to get at and what the idea of the book is. But if you really want to support my work and so I can do more of these videos and write more books and continue with Peaceful Village and all that, please do buy my books through Amazon and through other means. Go to weareinterconnected.com to the writings and books section there, and you can get my books there. Currently, my books are translated to two other languages, Italian and Urdu, and they're going to be translated to more languages in the future. So that being said, let's get on with this video. This is take two because the last video just something went wrong, and this is another take. So I hope I addressed everything. If not, please do again get my book, Return to the Gentle Sea for the Love That Lives in Everyone. Okay, so let's talk about individual animals, the cats, the dogs first, and then we're going to go on to the sanctuary next. So I'm really adamant about teaching people why it is morally unethical to have pets and sanctuaries. So pets, first of all, we have to understand that all animals that are in our care are not free. That's number one. They're not free. They're always enslaved. They're always in some kind of cage. Even if they're in a fenced in area and you think it's large enough for them to roam around and they're not in a factory farm, yeah, that might be a good thing, better than the factory farm. But they're not free because they have a fence around them. So they're not free. They don't get to go outside of that fence. They're not free. As soon as a friend of mine told me that, I'm like, wow, they're not free. And I realized that animals are enslaved. They're slaves. There are literally slaves. So they're not free. That's something that we have to understand. Now, pertaining to spaying and neutering animals, that is not, first of all, not natural to spay and neuter animals. And it goes against their will. They did not ask us to spay and neuter them. So why are we doing it? Their right is to live free without human interference. We're interfering in every way. Now, some people say, okay, well, we need to keep the pet population down. We don't need any more breeding, and so we should spay and neuter. And I thought about this as well a long time ago. I thought about, yeah, that's a good thing because we don't want the non-human animal pet population to explode in numbers. But what about the human animal population? We don't force people to get spayed and neutered, as in vasectomy or tubal ligations. So why do we do it to non-human animals? Why do we force non-human animals to get spayed and neutered? Why do we go to the veterinarian and get them spayed and neutered against their will? It's like small newborn baby children getting circumcised. Why do we do that? Because we think we know what we're doing. We're doing the right thing for them. That's what usually our fathers have done or have gotten done to themselves, and or their parents got done to them, and they think it's the right thing, but we're doing it to them without their consent. They have no consent. Literally, we're just taking away their purposes. So stop with this spay neutering and stop promoting it, because it's definitely not ethical. It's definitely not ethical. Now, another thing with pets is that they do not have freedom. Again, they do not have freedom. Most pets, and I'm not talking about the idyllic situation out in the wilderness somewhere with a dog, and the dog keeps coming back to you because they're really like, they have a really symbiotic relationship with a human, and they're, but in reality, we don't live like that. Most people have pets, they have them in their homes, they live in a city or a small town, and they live just like that in a house. They go to work 8 hours, the dog or the cat is at home, and the dogs don't have the right to choose when to go to the washroom if they need to. If they need to go to the washroom, they have to wait until their so-called guardian or master or owner or whatever comes home to take them out on a walk, on a leash. So they don't have the freedom. They don't tell them, they don't go to the washroom when they want. They don't eat when they want. All this stuff. Now, of course, there are smaller dogs that maybe just like cats and may be able to use the litter box. So that's a little bit more ethical. But even that is not natural. Now, another thing. So they're home all alone for a whole day or several days even. They're given food and water and all this stuff. They're given when the owner says it's, oh, now you're being fed. Here you go. Now you're being fed. So they're eating when we tell them to. They're drinking when we tell them to. And we also have them on leashes, which is not ethical because they're not free. Now, of course, people will say, well, if they're not on leashes, they might run into traffic or things like that. And I understand that, but they're still not free. They're enslaved. And even if we do rescue and adopt animals, how do people really know they're rescued and adopted? Just by, for example, if we're walking our dogs on the street. People will automatically think, oh yeah, it's okay for me to get a dog and to own dogs and to own pets, and it's okay for pet ownership. It's okay. I mean, yeah, you can probably put clothing on the dog and it says adoption on the side of the clothing, maybe, or go vegan on the side of the clothing, but that's really not the solution. So there's also an ethical implication about noise pollution, and there's in some areas, like when I was living in Belize and in Costa Rica, there's a lot of noise pollution from dogs barking like all the time. And it really drives you crazy when dogs just consistently keep barking at times. And in some certain situations, in certain areas, there are more dogs barking, and it's like you're getting PTSD. It's like you're going mad from dogs barking all the time. And so it's noise pollution. It's dogs becoming crazy from being confined in tiny areas. And don't forget, animals are not free. Animals are not free. Now let's talk about the food situation, because I think this is so important that we talk about the food situation that animals are fed. So let's talk about the first thing. Most conventional commercial food that people buy for their pets, dogs, cats, rabbits, whatever have you, mainly pertaining to dogs and cats, they are buying pet food that they would not eat if they were naturally free in nature. They do not eat, dogs do not eat cows, and cows are put into these pet formula, food formulas. Another thing is that discarded dogs and cats euthanized in laboratories and in pounds oftentimes are put back into pet food. So most of the commercial pet foods contain ground up dogs and cats. Remember, our animals, our companion animals, our pets, our dogs and cats are cannibals. Think about it. They're cannibals. Don't take my word for it. Do your research. Do your research. Dogs and cats are ground up. They're put back into pet food, and they go into commercially available pet food. Most of the commercial grade pet food, no matter what it says on the label, no matter what it says on the ingredient list, dogs and cats are in there. And they're labeled as different ingredients like chicken or beef. They're not labeled as dog and cat. Of course, who's going to buy something that's labeled dog and cat meat? So we're actually feeding our animals, companion animals, dogs and cats, and now they're cannibals. Next thing, even if we feed our companion animals roadkill, let's say we're against all the commercial pet food, let's feed our companion animals roadkill. So now we're taking roadkill into our house, which I know some people that feed their companion animals roadkill, they don't do it all the time. They're still buying their companion animals at times commercially prepared pet food. So they're not doing it 100% of the time. They're not feeding their companion animals roadkill. Maybe they're feeding their companion animals also like organic grass-fed beef or something like that, and it's still the same crap anyways. No matter what, they're not eating naturally intended foods. I mean, in nature, they wouldn't be pouncing on cows, you know. I mean, maybe if they were like starving or something like that, they would, but for majority part of it, they would not be eating these foods. So let's say we take in some roadkill and we bring it into our house. So we think humans are more superior to non-human animals. That's the end of the story. There's a hierarchy, invisible hierarchy, and we think humans are more superior than any other animal on earth. And that's very true even to vegans. Now, vegans will be like, okay, I'm going to get myself a roadkill and I'm going to feed it to my companion animal. I think that's more ethical, and that way I don't have to support the meat industry. And it's like, yes, it's more ethical, but would you bring in a human dead corpse into your house so your dog can eat that corpse? No. And why? Well, because first of all, we don't do that because we think humans are more superior to non-human animals. So bringing a dead corpse of an animal is more ethical than bringing a human into. That's a speciesist, centric, narrow-minded view. A speciesist, centric, narrow-minded view. Because we think humans are more superior to other animals, and therefore we don't do that. But in nature, people would say in nature, dogs or other animals don't eat humans. And it's like, yes, it's true. But if they were starving, they would. Any animal would eat any other animal. Because if they're starving, they'll eat whatever they can find. I mean, dogs and cats will even eat plants if they need to. If they can't find any other animal. So if there's scarcity, animals will eat whatever they can find to eat. Literally. That is why animals do not eat much in nature. And I'm talking about the carnivorous animals or omnivorous animals. A lot of the carnivorous animals do not eat much in nature. They eat like once a week, if that. And we're feeding our companion animals 3 times a day, or like 2 or 3 times a day, like humans. And so that's another thing that's unethical, is we're feeding our companion animals too much. Even 1 time a day is too much. We should be feeding our companion animals once a week, if that. Because in nature, animals would eat, I'm talking about the carnivorous animals would eat like probably once or at most 2 times a week. Because it is hard to actually catch animals in nature. and they're not a lot of times 9 out of 10 times they're actually very unsuccessful in catching animals. What they usually do is they catch either the injured animals or they catch the old and sick animals. And even that, they want healthy animals. They want to eat healthy animals. And so a lot of times they really don't get animals. A lot of time, 9 out of 10 times, they don't catch the animals. They don't get their animals. That's why they only eat like once or twice a week. And some animals like snakes and whatever might even eat less frequently than that, or even spiders less frequently than that. And so when we think about it, um, but when these animals eat, they eat like a huge portion to keep themselves full for that time, because they know that that is the only time they're going to eat within the week. They know that because they know that it's hard to catch animals and to eat them. And so let's get back into the dogs and cats. I think that is for the most part, that is the negative ethical implications. Now, of course, I talk way more about the pet situation that you can read about in my book, Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. Now, let's get on to sanctuaries, because I think sanctuaries is also a really important topic that people must understand. So sanctuaries can be any place where, I know I'm talking about an animal sanctuary. It can be any place where animals are rescued and they're given, let's say, a better home. Now, again, in the end, I just want to say one thing before I continue, and that is that the one good thing about rescuing and adoption is that one animal's life is spared. One animal's, like, you rescue one animal and it's good for that one animal. Yes, we understand. I understand that there's a positive thing to this, rescuing and adoption. Sometimes, in certain cases, you need to rescue and adopt animals. But if you're not reintroducing them back into nature, then they're not free. Okay? Now, a lot of times when you rescue and adopt, it's hard later on to rehome them out to nature. And it's really true. Sometimes it's really hard to rehome them back out into nature. And therefore, it is only good to do so for a very, very short period of time and then re-release them out to nature if possible. Now, the whole thing about sanctuaries is that it's an actual animal sanctuary. So you go there and people are just continuously rescuing and adopting animals, and that is not a solution. It's a band-aid cure, you know. Now it's good for the individual animals because their life is being spared. They're not in these factory farms. But a lot of these animals in sanctuaries actually do not come from factory farms. They actually come from organic, outdoor, pasture-raised farms. They come from like better farms. And so if you really think you're giving them better homes, it's not necessarily true because they're already living out in nature and in pastures and everything. But the one difference, of course, is that in the end, of course, those animals are still often killed, or a majority of them are, or I should say, all of them, virtually all of them are actually killed, because if they're used for food, they're eventually going to be killed anyways, and that's, of course, way, way, way before their natural intended lifespan. Um, and so the animals that are in these sanctuaries, again, are not free. And I've seen the best sanctuaries. Animals are in tiny cages. Animals are in tiny barns. Animals are in tiny fenced in areas. They do not have enough room to fully roam around. Now, they may be better than a situation where they're going to be killed later on, or maybe it's better than a situation in a factory farm where they have like basically no room to move around, but they're still not free in nature. Now, of course, there's the very, very, very rare situation where there might be a semi-wild sanctuary but for the majority part of it, but I've been to like many animal sanctuaries, and they house their animals in tiny cages. And I'm like thinking to myself, and I didn't realize this back then, but now I'm thinking to myself, my goodness, how can they even be vegan when they're like enslaving animals? Because they're in tiny cages. And people are like, they always want to rebuttal. Vegans and non-vegans always want to rebuttal and say, well, they're much better than, if they're killed, and they're much better than if they're in a factory farm and with little space, and they have a better life. And it's like, yes, they have a better life, but are they free? So people have criticized me, vegan and non-vegan alike, that I am all or nothing. It's either going vegan or nothing else. And it's like, yeah, that's what we want, is going vegan or nothing else. Because the thing is, you're either for animal cruelty or you're against it. And the majority of people are for animal cruelty because there's no in the middle. You cannot be, you cannot look. The end of the look. Let's discuss this one step at a time. Look, if people are still owning animals, they still have animals in their care, there is somewhat of ethical implication, a negative ethical implication to even caring for an animal. Now, of course, you would care for a human, but human has the ability eventually to do what they want, to go where they want. Animals do not have that choice because we put always barriers around the animal, where they can go, what they can do, how they can feed, whatever. They don't have total freedom. Let's stop with this nonsense. Let's focus our energy on vegan advocacy. We don't have time for little baby steps. We don't have time for rescuing. We don't have time for any of these things. Now, again, just to let you know that for most situations, I do not support rescuing and adoption. But there are times when, there needs to be rescuing and adoption. Yes, I understand that in certain cases. But for the majority part of it, we should focus our time on vegan advocacy. We should focus our time on vegan advocacy. So again, whenever animals are in our care, majority of the time they're going to be enslaved in small cages, fenced in areas, in barns, wherever, in houses, whatever. There's always negative implications to owning animals. And that's what we do when we care for them. Even if we call ourselves guardian or stewardship or whatever, we own them. They're our property. And so that's why I don't own any animals. That's why I don't rescue and I don't adopt and I don't promote it at all. Because there are so many negative implications and many more which I probably haven't addressed in this video. We need to stop thinking like cavemen and cavewomen. Stop owning other living beings. Stop playing God. We're not gods. We are here to do one thing right now as vegans, is to share veganism with other people. That's what we need to do. Now again, with this all or nothing thing, that's very true. It is veganism or nothing. Let's not talk about vegetarianism. Let's not talk about free-range eggs. Let's not talk about eating less meat or whatever. Let's not talk about this meat-free Mondays. Let's not talk about any of this stuff. Let's talk about veganism, because veganism is so important to saving this earth, saving the world, saving ourselves, saving all the other animals. Veganism is the only thing that will do that. That will save everything. Veganism is so important. People don't understand. They think it's my opinion and it's my choice and whatever, and they all kinds of excuses and all kinds of justifications. It's like there cannot be any more justification. Stop this nonsense. Stop the violence. Stop with the old thinking, all kinds of stuff. Just go vegan. That's it. That's the only solution. There's no other solution. Every other solution is a band-aid cure. Yeah, there might be some solution out there that helps a little bit, but in the end of it, veganism is the only thing that's going to solve the world's problems that we're facing right now. Stop with rescuing and adoption. It doesn't solve anything. It's a band-aid cure. Promote veganism. I keep stressing this out. Promote veganism, and do what you can to share this lifestyle with others, and stop rescuing and adopting, because it just doesn't make any sense. Animals aren't cages. Animals are not free. They're given food, water, drink, whatever, in a bathroom break when we tell them it suits us. And they're fed dogs and cats, and they're fed unethically and whatever, like. So this is a really long video, and I just wanted to go into detail on this, but of course it's non-complete. So again, please do get my book, Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. Help you understand the pet sanctuary adoption rescuing situation that we have here. We're not here to play gods and fix the situation. We're here to create a new world. Forget about the old system. Just disregard the entire old system. Now, of course, we live in the capitalist world, herding culture, and we got to live in this world and somewhat live in this world and still deal with many unethical things that we do in this world. But for the most part, we need to just walk away from it slowly, and create new communities of love, sharing, caring, cooperation, a new world that we would like to live in. That's the thing we want to do, is live in a world, or create a new world. Create a new world. We're never going to solve problems from when it was started. Okay, so we're not going to solve anything in a capitalist society. We have to create a totally new paradigm. So I think that's it. Please do get my book, Return to the Gentle Sea, for the love that lives in everyone. If you can support me, it's will help me tremendously. Go to Amazon or anywhere through my website, weareinterconnected.com. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it around with anyone you think would benefit from it. And subscribe to my email newsletter for freebies and updates and news about me and what I'm doing. And also, what else? Subscribe to my YouTube channel, because there are amazing videos that are coming out all the time. I try to post as many videos as I possibly can. Unfortunately, sometimes it just doesn't happen. But so if you want to support me again, please do get my books. That's the best way to do so. Buy books for your families, for their birthdays and Christmas and Hanukkah and all kinds of holidays. And what else? That's really about it, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.